Hey everyone, and welcome back to The Explainer. Today we are jumping straight into one of the trickiest balancing acts out there, mixing business with friendship. I mean, we've all heard the warnings, right? Don't hire your friends, or keep your personal life miles away from the office. And honestly, it makes a lot of sense, because historically, those lines blur incredibly fast. Feelings get hurt, expectations clash, and the whole thing just kind of falls apart. But today, we are looking at some source material that completely flips that conventional wisdom on its head. This isn't just your standard corporate strategy. We're diving into an ancient cultural philosophy rooted in two really profound concepts: justice and excellence. We're going to explore a framework showing that yes, you absolutely can have the thriving business and the deep friendship, but only if you master a very specific, almost paradoxical mindset.
Okay, let's dive into this. The whole foundation of our explainer today rests on this incredibly wise Moroccan proverb. It goes like this: hold me accountable like you would an enemy, but seat me in the place of a brother. Just let that sink in for a second. On the surface, it sounds completely contradictory, doesn't it? Usually we associate being held accountable by an enemy with coldness, distance, or even hostility. And brotherhood? Well, that's all about leniency, comfort, and unconditional warmth. But this ancient wisdom argues something really fascinating. It says that true relational success, especially when your work and personal life collide, actually requires you to hold on to both of these extremes at the exact same time. And what makes this even richer is how deeply it connects to Islamic cultural values. Specifically, we're talking about the delicate balance between adl, which is strict, uncompromising justice, and ihsan, which is profound excellence, goodness, and compassion.
So, accountable like an enemy, seated like a brother. Let's actually unpack the friction between these two conflicting halves and see exactly what this proverb is demanding of us.
When you look at these two concepts side by side, the contrast is pretty wild. Think about the first part, accountable like an enemy. Now, this definitely doesn't mean being cruel or malicious. In this context, an enemy is simply someone who is absolutely not going to let you get away with anything. They aren't looking the other way when you mess up. It is the ultimate expression of professional boundaries. And this maps perfectly onto that concept of adl, absolute justice and fairness, no bias, no favoritism whatsoever. You're judged purely on your actions and your merit. But then you've got the second part, seat me in the place of a brother. This is pure ihsan. It means going totally beyond baseline fairness to show proactive compassion, intense loyalty, and real familial love. The big mystery here is, how on earth can one single person pull off both adl and ihsan toward the exact same friend without giving them severe emotional whiplash?
Well, to figure that out, let's look at the business of friendship. Our source text actually gives us this brilliant modern parable about a successful businessman who decided to put this exact proverb to the test. He went ahead and hired his close childhood friend.
So the crucial point is how this actually played out in the boardroom. Honestly, you'd probably expect this boss to give his buddy a free pass, right? Maybe overlook a late report or let a sloppy presentation slide just to keep the peace. But nope, he didn't. The text explicitly notes that despite their close history, the boss never ignored mistakes. He absolutely refused to accept poor work. Whenever his friend slipped up, he corrected him firmly. He expected high-quality performance, and maybe most importantly, he treated him exactly like every other employee on the payroll. By refusing to compromise on his standards, the boss was executing adla flawlessly. He upheld absolute justice in the workplace, proving that if you want true professional boundaries, you have to be strictly equitable, no matter who is sitting across the desk from you.
But here's where it gets really interesting. What happens when the workday actually ends? Let's talk about compassion after hours.
We really need to look at how this builds on the strict dynamic they had in the office, because the literal second they clocked out, that strict boss vanished and the childhood friend came right back. Our source highlights that after work, these two shared meals together. They laughed together. They supported each other like actual family. This behavior after hours, that is the pure embodiment of ihsan, actively pursuing goodness, warmth, and excellence in human relationships. The intense professional critique from a 2 p.m. meeting, that strict adherence to adl, didn't bleed over into their 7 p.m. dinner conversation. Why? Because ihsan totally took over, making sure their personal bond was completely protected and nourished. That place of a brother was always waiting for him at the table.
And this brilliantly illustrates the blueprint for how to actually survive and thrive in these dual relationships. The businessman managed this by highly compartmentalizing his behavior, but he kept his core integrity completely intact the whole time. At work, adil and strict accountability ruled the day. Absolutely no mistakes were ignored. But after work, the environment seamlessly shifted back to ihsan. Shared meals, laughter, unwavering support. He didn't compromise his business for the sake of the friendship, and he absolutely didn't sacrifice his friendship for the business.
Now, obviously, a dynamic like this doesn't just happen in a vacuum. Other people notice. Let's shift to the balance of leadership and look at the massive ripple effect this had on the rest of the company.
If you've ever led a team, you know your employees are always watching how you treat your favorites. According to the text, the employees at this company ended up deeply admiring this balance, and the reason is simple. They saw a leader who flat out refused to compromise justice, adil, just because he was friends with someone. But they also saw a guy who didn't let corporate rules crush his compassion, his ihsan. The boss proved that fairness came before friendship. The rules applied to everyone equally. And let me tell you, that builds massive, undeniable trust within a team. But equally important, they saw that kindness remained at the absolute heart of the relationship. He earned everyone's total respect by living out that Moroccan proverb perfectly. It was total harmony between justice and excellence.
Which really leads us to this incredibly powerful redefinition of what it actually means to be a friend. Based on everything in the source text, true friendship isn't about letting the people you care about settle for mediocrity. It's actually a bond that grows stronger when accountability and compassion go hand in hand. By enforcing adla and strict professional boundaries, the businessman showed he respected the work itself. And by maintaining ihsan and brotherly love after hours, he proved he deeply respected the person. A lot of times, we get so scared that holding a friend accountable is going to destroy the bond, but this source material argues the complete opposite. Accountability, when you pair it with genuine compassion, is literally the glue that cements the relationship.
So this brings us to the final takeaway for today's explainer. You know, it's super easy to sit back and admire this ancient Moroccan wisdom, but it is a whole lot harder to actually practice it in our daily lives. Take a look at the relationships in your own life right now, maybe in the office, maybe on a side project, or just in your personal friend group. Are you leaning way too heavily into being an enemy, prioritizing rigid rules and forgetting the warmth? Or are you acting a little too much like a brother, just letting things slide because you hate the friction? How are you balancing accountability and compassion in your own relationships? It's a really delicate dance for sure, but as our story today proves, when you get it right, it is the ultimate formula for true respect and lasting connection. Thanks so much for joining me on this explainer, and I will catch you on the next one.